Johnny Carson hosted The Tonight Show for 30 years, and while he interviewed thousands of celebrities, some guests clearly held a special place in his heart. These weren't just ratings winners, but people Johnny genuinely enjoyed having on his couch, creating television magic through authentic chemistry and mutual respect. These are Johnny Carson's 10 favorite guests. Jonathan Winters, the uncontrollable improviser.
I have known Johnny Winters for about 17 years, and I have never ceased to be amazed at his talent. He's genuinely a funny man.
Winters was one of the most naturally uncontrollable improvisers Carson ever had, and Johnny clearly enjoyed letting him go with the official Carson channel, having a dedicated Winters playlist, reflecting how central those appearances were to the Carson legacy. Winters' appearances often became less interview and more comic event, with Carson's real laughter being a big part of why they work. He's one of the best examples of Johnny knowing when to host and when to simply enjoy the genius in front of him. The improvisation could derail any planned segment, as Winters transformed into different characters mid-conversation, while Johnny surrendered control willingly as the unpredictability became the entertainment. The playlist dedication shows Winters' enduring popularity with modern viewers still discovering the chaos, as Carson's genuine laughter proved he was as entertained as the audience. Winters could turn simple questions into elaborate comedy sketches instantly, while Johnny learned to let Winters run, knowing interference would ruin the magic. The chemistry worked because Carson provided the foundation, while Winters built the comedy with their dynamic representing trust, as Johnny knew Winters would deliver. The uncontrollable nature made every appearance unique, as Carson never knew exactly what would happen but trusted the process. Winters brought out Johnny's best reactive comedy, as the genius label wasn't hyperbole, with Winters truly being one of comedy's greatest minds. Carson recognized that brilliance and gave it space to flourish, as the appearances became legendary because Johnny understood when to step back. Winters proved that controlled chaos could create television gold, while Carson's willingness to cede control showed his confidence and generosity. John Wayne, the respected giant. Wayne's walk-on instantly shifted the room, with Carson treating him like a true giant, as the dynamic was built on visible respect and heavyweight presence. Carson recalled years later how Wayne's presence commanded different hosting energy. The notes described the walk-on as instantly changing the atmosphere, with Johnny treating Wayne differently than typical guests. Wayne represented old Hollywood royalty, as Carson showed deference rarely seen in his hosting, with the respect being genuine, as Johnny clearly admired Wayne's career and persona. The heavyweight presence meant Wayne dominated without trying, as his mere appearance elevated the show, while Carson adjusted his energy to match Wayne's gravitas. The walk-on moment became iconic because viewers could sense the mutual respect, as Johnny treated Wayne like the cultural icon he was. Wayne's appearances were events rather than standard bookings, as Carson promoted them differently, with the respect showing in small gestures, like Johnny standing longer or listening more intently. Wayne commanded rooms through decades of film stardom, as Carson recognized that power and honored it, with the giant label fitting perfectly, as Wayne's physical and cultural presence was undeniable, while Johnny knew he was hosting a legend. The chemistry worked because both men understood hierarchy and respect, with Wayne appreciating Carson's hosting skills, while Johnny appreciated Wayne's authenticity. The mutual admiration created comfortable television, as Carson never tried competing with Wayne's presence, with the respect making every interaction genuine. Wayne trusted Carson to handle the interview properly, as Johnny delivered, by treating him with appropriate reverence. Bette Midler, the emotional farewell. Midler returned at Carson's request for his penultimate episode, turning the farewell into one of late night's most iconic moments, as her blend of comedy music and genuine affection gave Johnny exactly the kind of emotional television he rarely leaned into unless he trusted the guest. She was not just a guest, but became part of Carson's goodbye, as Johnny used her when he wanted something bigger than a standard interview. The penultimate episode placement showed how much Carson valued Midler's ability to create memorable television, as her performance of "One for My Baby" became one of the most emotional late-night moments ever aired. Johnny's visible emotion during the song proved their connection was real, while Midler understood how to balance comedy with genuine sentiment perfectly. Carson trusted her to handle the farewell appropriately, without becoming maudlin, as the comedy music blend made her versatile, with her ability to shift tones seamlessly. Johnny rarely showed vulnerability on air, making Midler's inclusion even more significant, as the genuine affection between them was obvious to viewers. Carson chose Midler specifically because she represented the best of what his show could be, as the emotional television moment worked because both performers committed fully. Midler's respect for Carson showed in her preparation and delivery, while Johnny appreciated guests who took the show seriously. The iconic status of the performance grew over time as Midler became synonymous with Carson's farewell with Johnny, knowing she would deliver something special. The trust showed in giving her that prominent placement as Carson's goodbye needed the right emotional notes. Midler provided them perfectly, as the moment proved Carson's judgment about guests was impeccable. Robin Williams, the explosive energy. Williams appeared on the same historic penultimate show as Midler, with that placement alone saying volumes about trust and importance. As the host mentioned in interviews how Robin's energy could overwhelm anyone, but Johnny knew how to let him run while still shaping the segment. Their dynamic created some of Carson's most replayed moments as Johnny breaks and laughs hard. Williams's energy could overwhelm almost any host, but Carson knew how to manage the chaos, as the penultimate show placement meant Williams was in Johnny's top tier of trusted guests. The explosive energy required careful handling, as too much control would stifle Williams' brilliance, while Carson found the perfect balance between structure and freedom. Johnny's laughter during Williams' performances was completely genuine, as the replayed moments show Carson at his most reactive, with Williams forcing genuine responses. The energy level was exhausting, but Johnny knew Williams was worth it, as Carson shaped segments by asking the right questions, then letting Williams explode. The chemistry worked because both understood their roles, with Williams bringing the chaos while Carson provided the foundation, as Johnny never competed with Williams' energy. The trust allowed Williams to take risks, knowing Carson would support him, as the historic show needed guests who could deliver something special, with Williams representing the best of what Tonight Show comedy could be. Carson appreciated Williams' fearlessness, as Johnny knew Williams would create memorable television, with the explosive nature meaning anything could happen. Carson embraced that unpredictability, as Williams respected Carson enough to rein himself in slightly, while Johnny gave Williams room to be brilliant. The partnership created comedy magic. Steve Martin, the prepared explosive. Martin was one of the smartest, prepared but explosive guests Carson could use, as PBS material on Carson Outtakes highlights the genuine friendship and comfort between Martin and Carson, showing in how relaxed and playful their interviews feel. Martin could do bits, oddball props, stories, or dry anti-comedy, and Carson adapted instantly, with that kind of flexibility usually being a sign Johnny genuinely liked having someone on. The prepared nature meant Martin arrived with material, but the explosive delivery made it feel spontaneous, as Carson appreciated guests who did their homework. Martin's intelligence showed in how he constructed bits, as Johnny could tell when someone put in effort, with the genuine friendship developing over multiple appearances. Carson's comfort level with Martin was visible, as the relaxed interviews felt like two friends talking, with Martin shifting between comedy styles seamlessly, while Johnny adapted his hosting to whatever Martin brought. The oddball props became a Martin signature, with Carson always playing along with the absurdity, as the dry anti-comedy required trust since it could fall flat. Johnny understood Martin's sensibility perfectly, as the flexibility showed Carson's hosting skills, with Martin never phoning it in. Johnny appreciated the consistent quality as the friendship extended beyond the show, with Martin representing intelligent comedy. Carson valued that approach, as the playful nature kept things fresh, with Martin able to surprise Johnny. Carson loved being caught off guard, as the chemistry made every appearance worthwhile, with Martin becoming a Carson regular. Johnny knew Martin would deliver. Peter Falk, the effortless storyteller. Falk could tell stories in a loose, natural way, while still giving Johnny plenty of room to react, making their chemistry feel effortless, as the official Carson channel has multiple Falk clips and a dedicated playlist, which usually signals a guest with real replay value and strong chemistry. Falk's unpredictable but controlled energy matched Carson's style perfectly, as Johnny trusted Falk to make segments feel natural without overproducing the moment. The storytelling approach gave Carson space to be the reactive straight man, while Falk never dominated but always contributed meaningfully. Their interviews felt like two friends talking, as Johnny appreciated guests who understood the rhythm, with Falk delivering consistently across dozens of appearances. The loose, natural way meant stories unfolded organically, as Carson never felt rushed with Falk, with the unpredictable nature keeping things interesting. Johnny couldn't always anticipate where Falk would go, but the controlled energy meant Falk never lost the thread, as Carson appreciated that discipline. The multiple clips show Falk's enduring popularity, as Johnny recognized quality storytelling, with Falk making ordinary events sound fascinating. Carson's reactions validated the stories, as the chemistry developed over years, with Falk becoming a trusted regular. Johnny knew what to expect generally, but Falk still managed to surprise him, as the effortless quality was actually highly skilled. Carson recognized Falk's storytelling craft, as the room Falk gave Johnny mattered, since many guests dominated, leaving no space. Falk understood collaboration, as Carson valued that generosity, with the playlist dedication proving lasting appeal. Falk represented reliable entertainment, as Johnny booked him repeatedly, with the chemistry never fading. Joan Rivers, the permanent guest host. Rivers logged more than 80 substitute host stints before being named permanent guest host in 1983, making her one of Carson's biggest mate on this couch stories, as Carson was a major early supporter, becoming a defining part of the Tonight Show ecosystem. She proved women could command late-night stages, as Johnny gave Rivers opportunities when few others would. The relationship famously collapsed later, but that fallout only matters because the earlier professional trust was so significant, as Rivers understood Carson's comedy sensibility. Johnny saw her potential immediately, as the substitute hosting gigs proved her versatility, while Rivers delivered ratings whenever she appeared. Johnny's endorsement launched her entire career, as the 80-plus stints showed Carson's confidence, with Rivers becoming part of the Tonight Show family. Johnny trusted her with his show, as the permanent guest host designation was historic, with Rivers representing Carson's belief in female comics. Johnny championed her repeatedly, as the maid on this couch narrative was true, with Carson's support changing Rivers' trajectory. The comedy sensibility match mattered, as Rivers studied Carson's approach, while Johnny appreciated her work ethic. The defining part of the ecosystem meant Rivers was essential, as Carson integrated her fully, with the professional trust being earned through consistent performance. Rivers never let Johnny down, as the fallout devastated both parties, with Carson feeling betrayed by the Fox show. Rivers regretted not telling him, as the earlier trust made the collapse worse, with Johnny's support having been genuine. Rivers' success validated Carson's judgment, as the relationship showed Carson's generosity, with Johnny helping those he believed in. Rivers was proof. David Letterman, the secret joke supplier. Letterman wasn't just a favorite guest, but someone Carson continued supporting long after retirement, with CBS and AP. Reporting noting Carson secretly sent jokes to Letterman in retirement, showing how much he respected and liked Dave, as the official Carson channel heavily preserves and replays Letterman's appearances. Carson's continued creative connection said volumes about their bond, as Johnny saw something special in Letterman's unconventional style early on. The Succession drama complicated their relationship publicly, but Carson's private support never wavered despite the mess, as Letterman represented the next generation of late night. Johnny recognized the intelligence behind Dave's awkwardness, as the joke sending proved Carson's generosity, with Letterman becoming one of the few later hosts Carson stayed linked to. Johnny knew Letterman would carry the torch, as the chemistry during appearances felt like mentorship, with Carson treating Letterman differently than other comics. Johnny's encouragement shaped Letterman's confidence, as the relationship transcended professional courtesy, with Carson genuinely enjoying Letterman's humor. Johnny appreciated Dave's willingness to fail, as the awkward energy created memorable moments, with Carson knowing Letterman was destined for greatness. Johnny never regretted supporting him, as the secret jokes proved Carson's ongoing investment, with Letterman treasuring Carson's continued involvement. The retirement support showed Johnny still cared, as Carson chose Letterman specifically, with the respect being mutual. Letterman modeled himself partly on Carson, as Johnny noticed the intelligence, with the unconventional style potentially being dismissed. Carson championed it instead, as Letterman succeeded, partly because of Johnny's belief, with the joke sending remaining secret for years. Carson wanted no credit, as Johnny just wanted to help. Elizabeth Taylor, the respected icon. Taylor's appearance felt like a major event, with Carson visibly respecting her throughout, creating that icon plus visible respect from Johnny energy that made her presence special, as the notes emphasize how Carson treated her differently than typical guests. The prestige and admiration showed in every interaction, as Johnny rarely showed such deference to anyone, with Taylor commanding the room through presence alone. Carson adapted his hosting style for her, as the respect was mutual and obvious, with Johnny preparing differently for Taylor appearances. The icon status elevated the entire show, as Carson knew he was hosting royalty, with Taylor bringing Hollywood glamour. Johnny treated her like the legend she was, as the visible respect created different energy, with Carson's admiration showing in small gestures. Taylor appreciated Johnny's graciousness, as the chemistry felt formal but warm, with Johnny never trying to overshadow her. The prestige booking mattered, as Carson knew Taylor's value, with Johnny making her comfortable. The icon treatment was earned, as Taylor represented old Hollywood, with Carson honoring that history. The different treatment was appropriate, as Johnny understood hierarchy, with Taylor's presence being the event. Carson facilitated rather than dominated, as the respect showed professional maturity, with Johnny knowing when to step back. Taylor commanded through quiet dignity, as Carson matched that energy, with the admiration being genuine. Johnny truly respected Taylor's career, as the formal warmth balanced perfectly, with Carson maintaining professionalism. Taylor appreciated the respect, as Johnny delivered appropriate reverence, with the chemistry working because both understood roles. Taylor was the star, as Carson was the host, with the balance creating memorable television. Michael Landon, the warm, mischievous friend. Landon fits perfectly for a loved most list because the chemistry reads warm and playful, with Landon described as naturally boyish, mischievous, and great at turning simple topics into stories that snowball into punchlines, which is exactly the kind of guest Carson consistently enjoyed. The boyish energy kept things light, as Johnny responded to Landon's mischief with visible delight, with Landon able to make anything funny through commitment. Carson trusted him to carry segments, as the mischievous quality never felt forced, with Johnny and Landon having genuine rapport. The stories would start small, then explode, as Carson encouraged Landon's tangents, with the playfulness coming naturally. Johnny laughed authentically at Landon's bits, as the chemistry felt brotherly, with Landon representing mainstream success. Carson respected his work ethic, as Johnny enjoyed the boyish charm, with the snowballing punchlines being signature. Landon never phoned it in, as Carson knew he'd get quality with Johnny booking him repeatedly. The warm dynamic showed as Landon made hosting easy, with Carson appreciating reliable guests. The mischievous friend energy made appearances fun, as Johnny relaxed with Landon, with the boyish quality being endearing. Carson responded to that charm, as Landon's commitment sold every story, with Johnny appreciating full commitment. The simple topics becoming elaborate was Landon's gift, as Carson gave him room to build, with the snowballing effect being reliable. Johnny knew to let Landon go, as the tangents became the best parts, with Carson stopping directing. Landon delivered every time, as Johnny trusted the process, with the warm, playful chemistry never fading. Carson genuinely liked Landon, as the feeling was mutual, with Landon respecting Carson's hosting. Johnny appreciated Landon's talent. Johnny Carson's favorite guests shared one common trait. They understood that great television came from authentic chemistry, not manufactured moments, proving that 30 years of hosting taught Carson to value genuine connection above everything else. Which guest do you think Johnny Carson loved having on most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more legendary Tonight Show moments.